sugar and spice. There's an apple pie in Sammy's Cottage kitchen.
Hi, here I am again. Welcome to Sammy's Cottage Kitchen. We're filming out of Langenburg, Saskatchewan. That is where I hail, and that is where my beautiful kitchen is. I'm very happy that Access is here to share my recipes and my ideas and follow me around with my crazy music and my cooking. I've got Colin James in the corner right now playing, and I'm listening to him, but I'm just going to shut off my fan for a minute. Tell you what I'm going to do today. I'm in a mood for soup. You know, we have Thanksgiving, we have Christmas, we have times when we make turkeys. And a lot of times people just take the turkey and throw it out. Well, today I'm going to show you what you can do with turkey stock. I'm going to make a beautiful roasted pumpkin pear turkey stock. And it's with turkey stock, pumpkin pear soup with turkey stock. Gosh, I can't even talk. I think it's the second day with my new lips. Also, you see here, this is my bread pan from way back. My children even helped me make bread with this pan. I'm going to make dinner rolls, because what's better with soup than dinner rolls? It's a fall soup, so let's enjoy. But I have to start with the dough. I've already measured out about 15 cups of flour in here. And my husband made me this beautiful little table because I'm kind of a shorty. So when you're kneading bread up here, it's kind of like this, right? So this is a perfect kneading table. I tell you, he has every little project figured out. So it's a wonderful little table for that. So right now I've got the water heating over here. I have 6 cups of water in this pot, and it's hot enough. So I'm taking it off the heat because it just needs to be hot enough to melt your fats. This is a nice old-fashioned dinner roll. You can do it with oils, you can do it with all kinds of things, but I'm going to stick to the traditional butters and a little bit of fat as well. Now the butter is important. You're going to have, I'd say about a half a cup of butter in this batch because it's fairly large. Again, I'm making more than we need for dinner, because if you're going to make the mess of making some buns or some rolls or some cinnamon rolls, which is what I'm going to be doing, you want to have some left over to put in your freezer, because you don't have time every day to cook. But if you have a bit of a freezer, make use of it. The milk is going to be here to cool things down. This is for my soup stock. You see here I've got a pumpkin, a half a pumpkin. So while that is just sitting there, I'm going to be showing you how to cut up the pumpkin. Right now I've got the bread ready. I'm first going to put a little bit of warm water in this bowl. It has to be warm because I'm going to use traditional yeast. You can use instant yeast, it's up to you. I just find the texture a little better when I use traditional. And you just need a little bit. And then you need just a bit of white sugar. Again, up to you, but I find it does a better job. So I'm going to set this over here as well, because I'm going to be working with the bread all in this one area. And I'm going to need about 2 tablespoons of yeast. To be really honest, I think I'm going to do a tablespoon and a half, because it's not that big of a batch. That's up to you, but I want this to rise fairly fast in order to be ready for dinner. You bet. Okay, now that just had to sit and rise, and I have to add some sugar and salt to my mixture. Again, you're going to need the white sugar, and it's a bit of a sweet dough, so you're going to need a bit. I use my magic copper cups. It just tastes better when you use these fancy cups, right? You're going to need about 1/3. Is that a third? That's a half. I was going to do 2/3 because it's a sweet dough. Because I'm also making cinnamon buns with some of my leftover dough. Sticky buns, to be exact. Ooh, they are not good for you, but they are so tasty. Brings you back to your childhood, brings me back to my childhood for sure when I do that. Now I'm going to use some special salt. I use the Himalayan pink salt. I really like either sea salt or this one. It's a naturally infused with 84 minerals type salt. It's good for you if you eat the right kind of salt. If you just put a bunch of plain old iodized salt in there, you can OD very fast on your salt intake. Now again, bread for texture, and this is going to make a lot of buns. It is going to make about 80 buns, you know. It needs about a teaspoon and a half of salt. It's probably the most salt I ever put in anything, because I'm not a person who adds a lot of salt simply because I want people to be able to do their own salt. Now this dough I also add eggs, and I did not take the eggs out of the fridge, so I'm going to go over to the fridge right now and just grab some eggs. And no, my hands did not lay the eggs. I often get my eggs from a farm lady here, and that's really wonderful to be able to do that. Okay, now I'm waiting for the yeast to rise. I'm waiting for everything to melt down in my mixture. And it's just about there. So while I'm letting that happen, I'm going to show you how I do the pumpkin. You see, I already did. I'm going to show you this first. While you were all sleeping, in order to get this soup ready and stewing and not letting it take more than an hour, I already put pumpkin and pear into the oven because it needed to roast for almost an hour. And that's where you're going to get your flavor from too. It's a wonderful flavor that you get. I love the smell. That's going to go into this turkey stock that I've already done up while you were sleeping as well. Now, with a sharp knife, I had my husband cut it in half with an arm stronger than mine. You want to cut like this. I don't know how to show you this, but I'm just going to move the island over a little to show you that. You want to cut off an edge like this first, right? Because you got to be able to get at it. Not easy. And it doesn't matter how you cut it, but you got to get the seeds out. And it's kind of easy to get the seeds out after you've cut it. Easier than trying to scoop it out of it when it's half. Just break it off. Okay, now I can cut it this way. Any way I want to cut it, just so that I can cut it up so that it's good to go in the oven to roast. I've got music playing in the background because I enjoy cooking with music. And right now I've got one of my favorite artists, my favorite Canadian artist, and it's Colin James. I'm going to grab this pan, move a few things to the side, and I'm just first going to get all of the seeds out of there. You're going to want to get some of the rough kind of pulp, you know, the hairy stuff that's around the seeds out of there too. So as soon as I've got this finished, I want to show you that. That's what I'm doing. And all you do is you simply discard all of this debris from the center of the pumpkin, like that. I'm just putting it in this pan for now. I'm going to put it in the garbage. You could also save back some of the seeds, but I've already done that. And you can take these seeds and you can put them in the oven and roast them. Salt them and roast them and use it as a garnish. But I have a bunch of those set aside, so I will be garnishing the soup with that. People often ask about soup. What's the difference? I did a show a little while ago, and it was all about making soups as well, but it was bisques. Now, bisque soup, you got to make a roux first, and that's a mixture of, I usually saute up the onions and the garlic and the flour, the butter, in the butter, and then you add flour, and that turns into a nice roux. Just a regular roux has no salt and no onions and no garlic in it. Okay, so look at this. I could save some of these seeds and plant pumpkins next year. I don't think my garden is big enough for all that. This was why one pumpkin from the garden, because I planted one plant. It was a strange start on the spring this year. Okay, so now I'm just going to clean up my little mess. And pumpkins on the board, and put the seeds in the garbage. This is a delicious soup. This is one of those soups that you can use a little bit of spice and herbs in it. So my main herb that I use in my stock is herbes de Provence and, of course, some garlic. I'm going to put these all in here, and I'm going to drizzle it with oil. And I really like using avocado oil. I use coconut oil too, like when I'm baking and for spraying the pans. I'll leave that out because I'll be needing that later. So you drizzle this one up with a little bit of oil. And you add the pear to this. You just chop up a pear and you put this in here and you put it in the oven for about an hour. Now, I don't have to do that because I already have the other one ready. So I'll put this in later when I'm not using the oven for the buns. I'm just going to cover it up. I should say when you're adding the pear that you got to peel and core them. But I'm not going to bother with that right now because you all know how to do that. And you just throw it right in with the pumpkin and put it into the oven. All covered up with a clean cloth. It is the season for flies sometimes. Yeah, I think it's always a season for flies, except even in the middle of winter when they want to find you. So now the bread mixture is ready. It's pretty warm. So I'm going to add the milk. And I'm going to take it off of the heat and put a cloth under it because it's fairly warm. Because it's this warm, I'm going to add a few ice cubes because I need it to be happening. And that doesn't hurt. I put about 6 cups of water and half a cup of fat. And as I said, about 2/3 cup of sugar, 1.5 cups of teaspoons of salt. And now you add a few ice cubes because it's going to cool it down. You don't want to put the yeast, you don't ever want to put the yeast into the hot if it's too hot because it'll kill it. And if it's not warm enough, it won't rise. So that's just the way it is. Once it's cooled down, I'm going to put some eggs in it. Now, while I'm still waiting for this, I'm going to add my other ingredients to the soup stock. I'm going to put oh, it smells good already because I cooked the turkey already with herbes de Provence and garlic. I'm going to put a touch more garlic, and I'm going to put a touch more of what you call herbes de Provence. It's a mixture of rosemary, thyme, basil, and basically what it means is it's the herbs of the province. So this is bought, but I actually make my own as well. You can get that at HomeSense or Winners. And you can get small packages as well now in your regular supermarkets. It's not that common. Okay, I'm going to need my trusty knife over here. And I'm going to cut this because it's going to be easier for me to operate. So you're just going to cut the pumpkin out of the skin like that. And just chop it up. Like you take out anything that could be stringy from the center. Chop it up and you're going to let it stew away in here. The other spice I'm going to add to this, and I'm going to do it right now, is just, because I can concentrate on the breads while this is stewing, is a little bit of cinnamon. And at the very end, I'm going to put a touch of ginger. You don't want lots. Smidge. It's just something about cinnamon and pumpkin, I guess. So I'm going to turn this back on and keep going with my pumpkin. Again, I'm going to take out the skin in the middle like this because you don't want those strings in there. It's going to be hard to puree that. And then it doesn't matter if you leave a little bit on the skin, you know, as long as you've got enough in here to make your soup work. So I take it off the skin. If you roast it without the skin, it's not going to work too well. There's nothing as hearty as a turkey or chicken stock type soup. It just, I don't know, it just smells like goodness. What can I say? If you got a chicken roasting in the oven, it just smells good. It makes the whole house. That and baked bread, I guess that's why I'm doing the combination. Seems to be the nicest combination. So, this is a bit hot. But you know, after you work in the kitchen as much as I have, you get what you call asbestos fingers. I love making pumpkin pie. The other day I made pumpkin muffins. So I have a lot more things to show everybody that I'd like to be able to cook for everybody. I'm going to throw the pears in here too. See, it's already cooked, but it needs to simmer in the broth just a little bit more to soften it right up and to absorb the flavors of the broth. Okay, look at that. I was talking before about my husband building the little table for me. Well, he's built everything. He's built this whole kitchen except for this fan here, which I've drawn attention to before. My daughter-in-law and Katie Messmer and my son, Wes Messmer, made that for me. I tell you, that's love. But it was so much work that when people ask her, can we have one of those? She said, not on your life. I think I've said that before in a different show. But I'm extremely proud of this thing and of the place. I was also, on another show, I was talking about when we went to Cali, Colombia on a mission, and we did an album after that. And my husband does instrumentals on it. One of my favorites is called Radiance. And while I'm busy just finishing up some of this chopping and dicing here, I'm going to have you listen to that song Radiance. Hope you enjoy it. Just putting that out to my pantry. I'm going to talk while the song is probably still playing. But that song is off of our Rose Jose album. And I explained that we were on a mission in Cali, Colombia, when we had the experiences of a lifetime out there. And we wrote a song and we did a whole album after that. It was pretty cool. Okay, here we go. I got the dough, I got the liquid ready, I've got the flour ready, and I've got the yeast ready. So what I'm going to do is I'm pouring in to a well my mixture, like this. And I'm going to take the yeast, which is now all nicely raised. See, it's come to a nice bubbling brew because, you know, cooking and baking is science. Without yeast, you got unleavened bread. And that's good too. So the soup is going to town here, so I'm just going to turn that down in just a minute, that's for sure. I'm going to put some music back on the background for myself. Now, there's no way to do this except with your hands. I have to put the fan on really low because otherwise that's just going to make a smell. So you just get into the well like this, you pull it all together. Can you see what I'm doing? Just feels good, feels like you're playing in mud pies or something. And I think that's what my children enjoyed. I guess I've been baking bread for as long as I can remember. I think I was something like 10 when I started baking breads at home with my family of 10. And we used to make 30 loaf batches then, so this is playing around. So you see, you might notice I keep moving the bowl around. That's why these bowls are exactly ergonomically correct. They move with you, and you just keep pulling it in because you don't want to bring it in too fast. If you bring the flour in too fast, you're going to have tough buns and breads. So you have to just keep cleaning off your fingers a little bit like this. My good fortune is I have a flour bin right down here when I need extra flour, which I do. And I take it and put it all around the edges of the bowl like this because I want to keep doing this and keep it underneath. Like that. Now, it's starting to feel good already. And when I'm finished with it, because I want it to rise a little bit faster, some days you want it to rise faster because you haven't had the time to let it sit long. It won't hurt it at all. I kind of put it in an area that's warm where it'll proof. And because I was cooking the pumpkin in the oven, it's very warm over there. See, I'm still pulling it together. Again, take it off of your hands like this. There's a lot of flour on the outside like this and dough, but it all works in yet, so you take off as much as you can. Make it work for yourself. Just going to put my hand in here because I'm going to rub flour on it. This is, I didn't put the eggs in this. I decided against it because it was sweet enough to put that in. You could, if you're just making like just cinnamon buns, then I would put the eggs in. But for the dinner rolls, they turn out a little bit better without the eggs. I pulled the eggs out of the fridge and then I had a second thought. That's the joy of making your own recipes and your own food and doing what you want to do. It's like writing a song. Change it. You can be on stage and completely change it and you're allowed. It's your song. I have to say I'm a little guilty of that. I have done that. But I also, I really believe in not looking at papers when I'm on stage. So I'd rather repeat a verse or a chorus than to be reading it off of paper because I can't do it with conviction. I want to be able to sing the song like I mean it. And it doesn't matter if you sang that song 1,000 times, you need to sing it like you mean it. And that's kind of the way I am with cooking too. I want it to be what I want it to be, and I want it to be done with pleasure and conviction. And if you're really mad at somebody, you can really beat this dough up. I'm not mad at anybody right now, so just so you know. You guys are all safe. I'm going to put some flour underneath. I want it to remain a bit sticky, so it's a bit tricky. Oh, there's a song right there. Sticky, tricky. And then I'm going to be making hot, sticky buns here pretty soon. Oh my goodness. Okay, now this is coming together beautifully. It's just a little bit sticky, but I still have a little bit of flour in the bowl, so I'm pulling it together with that. See, it's not sticking to my hands anymore, so it's pretty much where it needs to be. I really enjoy working with dough. I like the feeling. You can do things with machines. There's bread machines, and bless your soul, if you want to do that, it's okay. But I have to recommend that you do something like this because it's just a feeling of feeling the dough. You know by feeling the dough if it's right. See, it's just got a texture, and it needs to be kneaded. If it isn't kneaded, it won't pull the elasticity into it, and then you won't get the velvet buns the way you're supposed to have them. Now I have the lid. This is just what I do. It's the easiest. I just take it, put a little bit of oil on the lid, and take it out of the bowl because I want to clean the excess flour, and I don't want the dough to stick to the lid. So I put just a little bit of oil. Obviously, always avocado oil. I made buns the other day, and I used avocado oil. It turned out quite lovely. They turned out a little bit more like a ciabatta. That is like a Italian style. See, still plenty of stick to it, but not too much. And now, it's an easy cleanup. You just, again, use your hands. It's one of those things. I got a ring that I end up having to floss all the time when I do this. I've never learned to take it off. So you just clean up all around like that, really quickly clean it up, because it doesn't matter that there's a little bit in there when you're putting the dough back in, because that's what it is. So now again, just wash my hands off a tad. And you should always use cold water when you're doing the dough, off your hands or off of pans or off of anything. But you see, it's hardly any dishes at all when you do a dough like this. You got one bowl, one pot that had some liquid and the things that you mixed it in. And now I'm just going to drizzle a little oil into that bowl, put the dough back on and the lid on, and put it over there to proof. And then I want to draw your attention back to the soup for a minute. As soon as I have this back in the pan, it looks great. Right now, see, it just lifts up like a big, beautiful blob. And the kids always had fun. They put it in the bowl, Mom, we want to spank it up. And they go like that. That was the greatest. I found pictures and I put them on my fridge the other day of my two of my boys. I'm going to sit here because it's warm. Doing a thing like that, baking bread with me, and they must have been about 2 and 4 and having a blast. Okay, so the bread is now ready to go. The soup is really doing beautifully. I'm going to move my island around a little bit here, and a few things to the side, and put the eggs back in the fridge, and then I'm going to check the soup. Look how beautiful it looks, just brilliant. Now I'm going to check to see how well cooked the pumpkin is. Ah, nice. So I'm going to be able to puree this pretty soon and let it continue to simmer. And I think I'm going to pour it out of the pot into a bigger pot, because when you've got to puree it, that could be a mess. That could be a disaster waiting to happen. So this is a great pan because you see the size that you want, but I would put it into a larger pot or a big bowl of some kind when you're pureeing. I'm going to go down here and get a big pot. It's stuck. When my husband built this, he built it so that it fit just a certain way. I think it's funny, actually. It was a very small space to work with, so I think he worked miracles. I'm just going to take this and put it into another pot. Awesome. But I'm going to keep this back because I think I might want to put it back in this pot after the pureeing. So I'm going to move it over here. So while I'm waiting for dough to rise, I'm going to use my trusty wand again. This, I really have to get a different one, but as you can see, it's done a lot of work. I did 11 years of catering in Okotoks, and this was my only stem blender that I had that I got at a garage sale. That's crazy when you think about it. But I was just starting, and I couldn't be just spending a whole bunch of money. And for anybody else who wants to have kitchen gear, start with what you can afford first. You can always build yourself up. So now, I don't know if you can see in the pot at all. Oh, I see something I don't like. There is one piece of pumpkin in there that has skin on it, and that wouldn't puree up at all. So I'm going to take them out of there, and I'll cut it off when it's cooled a little bit. There you go. That's what happens when you're rushing. Fixed. So you just get in there and you puree away until it's all a nice smooth mixture. So it remains a brothy type soup. That's the difference between puree and broth. Now on another show, I'm going to make a Scotch broth soup, which you can make with either lamb or beef and diced up tiny vegetables. And that's a clear, clear broth. And then you pride yourself in making the clearest broth. While I'm pureeing away here, I'm making an awful lot of noise. I'm trying to yell above myself even. I'm just going to go and mention something about another song on another album. We did an album called Winds of Change, and a good friend of ours from Smithers, Wayne, who has since passed, he played the guitar on that. It's a song I pride, and it's called Between Gone and Goodbye. It's a little bit of the bluesy of the country girl in me, so I hope you enjoy it. I hope I'm not making too much noise for you to hear it.
Todo cambia en la vida, pero todo sigue igual. Los amantes caminan la senda, es una fina leña. Todo causa cambios, vida renace. Podemos renegar de todo, pero la vida sigue igual. Si los vientos de cambio soplan, encontrarás que los vientos cambian tu mente. Si los vientos de cambio soplan como un huracán, tienes que saber una acción, creo reacción. Los vientos de cambio soplan siempre. soplan encontrarás que los vientos cambian tu mente. No resistas porque la vida es sabia y te lo
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. We're going to take just a little bit of break here before we decide to show you the end product. I have to first get the dough to proof, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to show you how to roll the buns and show you the finished product. Well, we took a little coffee break and it was a well-deserved one. I'm just going to show you now that I had to do that because I had to let the dough rest in order to let it rise. And as you can see, it's looking mighty fine, like this. I'm going to roll out the buns. I'm going to make dinner rolls. I'm going to show you how we do that. I'm going to take a little bit of coconut oil because I can just smear it in, but it's wonderful to make sure that you use, and I'm going to spray also a little on the board because then the dough won't stick, because remember what I said, it's actually quite a sticky dough. I like it. But while I'm just getting ready to do this, I'm going to walk over here because I've melted some butter in a pot. And I'm going to throw a cup and a half of sugar in there. I just want this mixture to be ready. And I'm going to put about, I would say 3/4 of a cup of cream in there. Oh, this is decadent. I'm sorry, it's not anything healthy. What do you do? I'm going to go over here and see if I can find a wooden spoon. Nope. Aha, it's exactly where it belongs. And I'm just going to bring this just so it melts while I'm rolling out the dough. So I got to put it onto a low heat. The soup, mind you, I should draw attention to. Do you want to see what the soup looks like? Look at this. Woohoo. Beautiful pureed pumpkin and pear soup. Now it can shut off and just rest. So I'm going to do that right now. And leave the lid on. It'll hold the heat. So meanwhile, I brought this to heat, and you're going to see what I've got going on. I'm going to add maple syrup to add insult to injury and decadence to decadence. That's how you get it to be a real sticky. So you've got butter, cream, sugar, and syrup. I had to save back some of the cream. I'm going to shut it off because it's all melted down nicely, because I'm going to need to garnish the soup. That's why I've got everything laying out for this. Now, I'm going to take the dough. I've gotten good at just measuring it out. You just sort of take a bunch of pieces. You just take it in your hand. It feels so good. The dough just feels like velvet. And it's supposed to. I'm going to take a half a dozen at a time. I'm going to put about a dozen in that pan. And you just go like this. You roll, and you get a beautiful tight bun. When you roll it like that, you've got to get a little elbow room, like that. See, look, woohoo, nice. And you can also take both hands, if you're ambidextrous, which I'm not the best at, but I do my best. I put 3 for sure. I'm not sure how many I'm going to put in because I'm making them fairly small, like this. The dough has to rise on the average about 3/4 of an hour. Because it's a soft dough, it doesn't need to rise like a bread dough does. There you go, there's 6 in there. Just keep cutting them off. And after I'm going to make more later, but I want to get these ready for supper. So I'm going to do just enough, and a pan of sticky buns, so we have dessert. So I'm going to go with the both hands again. I feel that this one's bigger than the other one. What the heck? So then you just tear a piece out. It's fun. Dough is very forgiving. You wouldn't do that to pie dough. I'm going to go with the 2 again. Yeah. You know I'm going to shut off that fan because it's just making unwanted noise. And I don't need it now because the soup is finished and there's just the wonderful smell of baking coming up, so I want to be able to smell that. I'm going to put another row in here because I want these to go together, you know, to cling to each other. It keeps the moisture. Another one. So just 3 more for now. Then I'm going to roll some out to make the sticky buns. I'm just going to make a small pan of sticky buns. And the dough will hold and wait for you because I'm just trying to prepare things for supper. And I've got guests coming, so I want to make sure I have what I need on my supper table. And then later on, I'll just put the rest of the dough in. You can punch it down. Oh, that one's not smooth. You can punch it down 3 or 4 times. It doesn't matter. If it gets really high, you just punch it down. And that's why I say dough is fun to play with. You can make a lot of things. Poppy seed rolls, everything. So this is ready. I'm just going to set it to the side because it has to proof. And you usually cover it with a cloth. It's fairly warm there, so I want it to proof. I have an egg wash in the fridge too that I'm going to show you what I do with that. But next, I'm going to grab my other pan and make it ready for the sticky buns. Now, I'm going to take some of this mixture and put it on the bottom of the pan. And if you can see what I'm doing. This doesn't work. I'll use one of my magic cups. So I would say you take about 1/4 cup. See? You spread it on the bottom like that. And I'll leave this handy because I'll be using it again. But I don't know if this is warm, so I don't want to put it on the counter. Now I'm going to grab a healthy chunk of the dough like this, just as if I was making a loaf of bread, which you can do with this dough too. But I find it better for buns. I'm just going to put it to the side. Now, to the side, can leave it on that little table. I'm twirling around here like a ballerina. So you just, because it's such soft dough, you don't have to roll it out or anything. You just do this with it. Now I'm going to need to wash my hands for a minute. And I've got the brown sugar right here, and I've got the cinnamon right here. You can decorate these up with raisins or nuts or anything you'd like to do with them. But I'm just going to use my good old hands right now to spread the butter on. Yeah, more decadence. But you know, we were all raised on this kind of food. And I'm here to tell the story. So as long as you're not having it every day, it can't be that bad for you. The thing that people do wrong with dieting, there's nothing wrong with making sure you're staying in shape and everything's good, but the thing they do wrong is they deny themselves of everything. And that's okay for a short period of time. And there are very good diet plans out there for people who have health issues and need to do that. But on the average, you should let yourself have just about anything you want. I'm using my hands because a spoon would take me forever. So you just spread it. That spoon, by the way, is from Jack's grandmother. It used to skim the cream off of the goat's milk in Holland. Just a little trivia. Now, that's spread on like that. I'm glad I got water back here because this is a bit of a messy job. Cinnamon, very important to put cinnamon on. And measuring is more about your taste. If you like more cinnamon or less cinnamon, it's all about what you like. Just like that. And now I'm going to roll it up like a sausage roll. And because it's such soft dough, you got to be a little bit gentle. Otherwise it'll tear through. And you just roll it. I don't want to have real big cinnamon buns. You can if you want, but I prefer not such a big ones. Okay, you pinch it together like that. You see me pinching the dough? Stick in the ends so it stays together. Then you turn it so that it lays on its seam. It's going to be easier to cut. Washing my hands one more time. Now you just put this in like this. You cut them about an inch I would say. And you want it to be a nice full pan. Stinky thing about this sometimes is they like to spill over in the oven, but you just deal with it. Sometimes I put foil underneath, but sometimes the foil doesn't allow the bottoms to get done properly. So it's not always the best scenario. There, I have one pan ready to go. See? Ready to go. So they also need to proof. Actually, I'm going to proof them back here because they don't have to proof. If they proof too fast, they get all bubbly. So I'm going to put them on the side. So they take about 15 minutes to proof. And while they're proofing, I want to talk to you a little bit about something else. I'll finish up my mess here in a minute. But we talk about our music, and we can play some music while we're talking about this. My good friend Adam Keogh is on the Saskatchewan Firefighters calendar. He is our neighbor and our percussionist with our band, with Sammy Rose Band. And yesterday we were having band rehearsal, and we said, we need Adam to come over with his calendars and sign. So he did. That's Adam. And we're very proud of him because this is a fundraiser. So please look for your firefighters calendar. It's a fundraiser for the Children's Hospital. And so, you know, these guys are all volunteer fighters, and they do this just out of the goodness of their heart. We're just going to take a little break right now so I can get things in the oven and show you the finished product. I forgot to mention with the calendar that it is for 2018. And I did say that it's a fundraiser for the Children's Hospital. So please, go and grab one of your firefighters' calendar, Saskatchewan Firefighters calendar. One of his favorite songs that he played on the album, on our new album. I don't want to ruin it, so I'm going to put it away here. The Life's Kaleidoscope is It Ain't Right. And it's a song about, you know, young people who get married, have children, have careers, and then can't find enough time for each other and do what they have to do. So this song was something that he really enjoyed, and he did a heck of a good job. So you listen to it while I'm getting ready. I'm going to show you how I'm finishing the buns, and please listen on that song from our new album. This is an egg wash. Egg.
It ain't right when we try to talk, we fight. Don't know how to listen at all. Somehow we've dropped the ball. We used to go to work late and rush home early. Now we rush off early and get home late at night. Oh, baby, you know that ain't right. It ain't right when we turn out the lights at night. We turn and face the wall and just say goodnight. That's all. That's all. Life is just work and money, money, money. Gonna find our way back to you and me, honey. That's right. 'Cause what's going on here? It ain't right. Tonight let's shut off the phones and the mindless chatter. Tonight we'll get it right back to what really matters tonight. When we turn off the lights, we'll light the candles and pour some wine and get back to you and me time. That's right. We'll get a whole lot closer than just good friends. Falling in love all over again. That's right. We'll get it going on, and that's right.
Well, I hope you're enjoying listening to the song. Meanwhile, I'm going to take a sample of the soup. Needs a touch of pepper. And a touch of salt. And a finishing touch is a little bit of ginger. Probably wondering what I'm doing in the freezer. I always keep my ginger root in the freezer because it grates off like powder. So you can see it's been grated before. So all you do is you put, I should put it over a little bit. And it just comes off like powder. You can see that. Because you don't want too much, you don't want overkill. One of the reasons for ginger is it's pumpkin, first of all, so you put a little bit of ginger and you put a little bit of cinnamon, remember, and some herbes Provence and some garlic. When you want my recipes, you have to look on my website, and that's Sammy Rose Hollenberg, www.sammyrosehollenberg.com, and I will have my recipes on there. Just that little bit will make the flavor, but it's also going to help you with your digestion. If you have anything that you have trouble digesting, when you add a little ginger, it makes a difference. Also going to need a touch of salt. I don't put much salt, but I'm doing it on this one. Putting this to the side. And I think it's time, I'm going to serve the soup in a minute, but I think it's time to take a look at our product in the oven. I have a light here somewhere. There's a light. I've got the cinnamon rolls and I've got the buns in here. And yes, you can bake them at the same time and at the same temperatures. Woohoo, that steamed up my glasses. Well, would you look at that? The beauty, beauty, beauty of a finished dinner roll. And yes, sticky buns. Sticky buns. Can you get the sticky buns? Hot sticky buns. I'm going to be flipping those out into a plate in a few minutes here because I got to let them rest for a second to not cave in when I turn them over. Meanwhile, I'm going to show you how to serve this soup. So you've got a beautiful turkey stock, pumpkin, pear, spice, and herb soup. Now, I don't think there can be anything that hearty. I just don't like a dirty edge on the soup, so I'm going to take a paper towel for that. And usually 2 scoops is a good serving, because you know, the thing is you can go back for more, right? You can use whatever you want for garnish, but my garnish is toasted pumpkin seeds. I put a touch of cream in. It's just a nice thing to do. Kind of make a bit of a design if you can. And then you pull it together. I'm going to just move the pot out of the way so I can bring the bowls up here. It's a little easier to see what I'm doing. So you can take a spoon too and you can just kind of swirl that around a bit. It just makes a pretty design. See? You do what you want. You can make faces if you want. My grandchildren would. Then you're going to take a little bit of goat's cheese here. It's crumbled goat cheese, and you're going to just put it in there because that's going to melt in beautifully. It's also going to give it a creamy kind of a finish that you want to basically have in this soup. You want to let it melt. Let it melt, just like the advertisement for the chocolate, right? Put enough in. Make it decadent. And then the pumpkin seeds. Toasted, roasted pumpkin seeds. How beautiful is that? And I always like to finish it off with a touch of cracked pepper. Just like that. And it doesn't need anything else except a fresh bun, right? So I'm going to have a side dish for that. A bun with butter. I mean, what on earth? Got to have butter. These buns are like velvet, guaranteed. Look at, they just come up like this, and they tear apart, and they're just simply like velvet. I'm just going to put one on each plate because I just want to show what I'm doing with it. And if you take it like this and you just, like, look at, I gotta taste it. I gotta taste it, see what I'm feeding people. I'm not sure. And I gotta flip out the sticky buns. Let's have a look. I'm gonna tear the heart out. Oh, oh. That's not even fair. You're all invited. I'm gonna just flip these out. Woohoo, hot. Hot sticky buns. I said I was making hot sticky buns to show you how beautiful they look. Look at that. So you saw the top, it's also the bottom. When you have a little bit more syrup, which I do have, you can make it really bad and do that. Woohoo! Look at this. That's just simply not right, but I love it. Thanks again for hanging out for me here at Sammy's Cottage Kitchen. I don't know who's having more fun, me or you. I don't know. I'm enjoying this. Like I said, cook with love. Love the life you live. And, you know, if you are cooking, do it with love and keep on keeping on. Life isn't always kind, but you know what? You just do the best and you make the best of it. I hope to see you again real soon. Please watch me on Monday nights on Access TV at 7 o'clock. And come back every week because I intend to do this for a few weeks.